After you have completed your inspection of your main shaft, it now becomes time to reassemble the main shaft. First step in reassembling the main shaft is locating the main keyway. Main keyway can be found just by finding the roll pin at the bottom of the main shaft. The idea of that roll pin is basically stops the main key from traveling too far down and of course binding in the forward sliding clutch. Once you've located it, mark the groove and the top of the shaft. Makes your assembly process a little bit easier. Then you're going to clamp your main shaft in a vise using a set of soft jaws. This will stop you from damaging the shaft. The components we're going to install is we have 4 conical washers. The reason we call them conical washers, they have a curved surface or conical surface. That rides up, of course, into my sliding clutches. 4 of the washers are identical in size, black in color. We have one, what we call a selective washer. That sits at the very back groove, usually white or silver in color, a little bit thicker than the other 4. We have some thrust washers. The thrust washers will ride between the gears and actually sets a clearance for lubrication. We have some sliding clutches. The sliding clutches have what we call a parallel type tooth, or they will have a back taper or a dovetail tooth design. The dovetail or the back taper design is the forward or the front sliding clutch. That is the one that actually will go in your direct or overdrive position. It also has a slightly larger groove for my fork than my parallel design. When I'm reassembling this main shaft, I'm basically going to build an upside down Christmas tree. What I mean by that is I'm going to start with my smallest gear at the bottom and I'm going to work my way up to my larger gear assembly. So the first thing I have to do is take one of my non-selective washers, the black ones, and I'm actually going to put it in the bottom groove assembly. So I'm going to set it down on the shaft, put it in the bottom groove, and I'm going to actually give it a slight twist. In your toolbox, you'll have a piece of black tubing. You're going to take your tubing and you're actually going to put it into the groove. And what that is going to do is actually stop the washer from rotating. So it makes it reassembly a little bit easier, especially when I go to put my sliding clutch back in. I'm going to take my smallest gear. Remember, the dog teeth in my smallest gear have to ride with the dog teeth on the sliding clutch. Because there's a sliding clutch on the front here that connects my main shaft to my input shaft, means my first gear has to be put down. I'm now going to take a thrust washer and I'm going to place it between the 2 gear assemblies, so flat to flat. And I'm going to take it in there and I'm just going to give it a slight little twist. And I'm going to push my black plastic pipe up. I'll take my next larger gear, flat surface against the thrust washer. The clutching teeth will face up. I now take again another one of my non-selective black type conical washers and I set it on the shaft. Put it down in place, give it a slight turn and push my plastic pipe up in place. Now I'm going to take one of my parallel design sliding clutches and I'm going to look for that big groove assembly. That big groove assembly is where my key is going to ride when it's assembled properly. So I'm going to find the mark on the top of the shaft and I'm going to line it up with that groove assembly. Lock it in place. I now take another non-selective conical washer. Remember, the conical surface has to ride against the sliding clutch. I now put it into the next groove. And just like the other ones, I'll give it a little slight twist and push my plastic pipe up into place, holding the washer in place. With that in place, now you can see the sliding clutch is able to move back and forth and engage in the dog teeth in this gear and the dog teeth in this gear. I now take my next gear assembly, remember this clutching teeth down, and set it into place. I now take another thrust washer, set it on the back side, give it a slight twist, and of course push my plastic pipe up into the place. I'll take my next larger gear, remember, flat against the flat on the washer, and install it in place. And I now take my last non-selective washer and set it into the gear. Give it a slight turn, push my plastic pipe into place. I'll now take my last parallel tooth sliding clutch, looking for that large groove assembly again for the key to sit into, and now I'll install that on my shaft. Then I can take my selective washer, my silver or white one, and it now sits in the top groove. And give it a slight twist. So now I can push my plastic pipe all the way through, and it's now going to hold all my washers and everything in place. I can now take my main key. My main key is kind of a triangular shape. So I'm going to take the pointed side of my key, I'm going to place it in the groove, and what I'm able to do is as I push my key into place, I can actually start pushing out my plastic pipe. And if everything is in line, I should be able to pull out my plastic pipe and push my key all the way into position. And now the main shaft assembly. I can now take my reverse gear, put it on the back side. Remember, the reverse gear has to sit all the way up against my first speed gear or low gear in order to get the main shaft, keeping the snap ring groove out. And now it's ready to be installed in the transmission. Remember to to install your forward sliding clutch on the front before installing it in the transmission.